Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yater Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, The Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with us. That work out, John? Worked out pretty good. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anyway, welcome to another edition of the show. So glad to have you along with us as we continue to work our way through the springtime season. It's interesting, though, at my place in central Michigan, it looks like springtime, right? There's no snow around. It looks like springtime. But I had to make a trip. I didn't have to. I made a trip a little bit north last weekend, and we were up in Gaylord at the Treetops Resort. More on that coming up. But, man, I could not believe how much snow. This is last weekend. They still had in Gaylord. I mean, you folks really must have gotten dumped on last winter because there was still a lot of snow on the ground. And if it looks like that in Gaylord, I can't even imagine what parts of the UP look like. So when you hear me talking about springtime and how nice it is and yada, yada, you must be about ready to shoot daggers at me because you're thinking, Avery, you're wrong. In my backyard, it's not like that. And I get that, okay? I get that. But just take solace in the fact that it's coming. It's coming, all right? It's on the way. And how do I know that? Because the red-winged blackbirds are back on the pond behind the house. When I was in the studio last week, in fact, it was Wednesday, I said they're not back, but I feel like they're coming back anytime. I get home from the studio, I go out in the driveway, and I hear, I'm like, what is that? I think that's the sound of a red-winged blackbird, but I couldn't pick it up again. It was real windy, and I couldn't get another sound like that. I go outside Thursday morning, and they were all over the place. All over the place. I love that sound. I love to see those birds. To me, it is the true sign that spring is just around the corner, and they're back on the pond behind the Avery house. So we're almost there. You know what? Unfortunately, is also back? Those big flying rats. You might call them geese. You might call them Canadian geese, but they're not. They're Canada geese. I wish they'd all go to Canada and become Canadian geese. I've never disliked geese before, but I dislike them now. They're loud, they're obnoxious, they're dirty, they're aggressive. They're just, maybe if you had just a couple of them, but you can never have just a couple of geese. Because if you have a couple, then you're going to have a bunch, and then you're going to have a whole bunch, and then you're going to be overrun. If they would just stay on the pond, I would have minimal problems with them. But they won't stay on the pond. That's going to be an ongoing saga here over the next several weeks. I know it is. What else wildlife-wise? Well, Washtenaw County. In fact, I'll read you part of the news release for the DNR. I just got it as I'm here in the studio. Washtenaw is now the 15th Michigan county where CWD has been identified in the wild deer population. An adult buck found acting ill in Salem Township recently tested positive for CWD. So there's one more added to the list. Also, speaking of wildlife, and this is, as I am here in the studio, this has not been confirmed by the DNR. I suspect it will be, possibly by the time you hear this radio show, because I'm hearing about it from what I consider to be very reliable sources. I have seen pictures that I believe to be legitimate. I've talked to the people who have taken those pictures and seen this. If the wool is being pulled over my eyes, I apologize, but I feel like this is real, so I'm going to tell you what I think is going to be happening here. In Ontonagon County, the locals have found a couple of cougar, puma, mountain lion. They're not cubs. What are they? Kittens, and taken pictures of them and posted them all over the place. Originally, the DNR seemed reluctant to come out and investigate. Either, maybe they were tied up on something else or what. I don't know the background there. But I was told by a very reliable source that a DNR wildlife biologist was out there and did investigate. I don't know what they will officially find, but it seems pretty clear that the finding is, unless somebody is pulling a big prank here, and those things happen, it looks like we now have a breeding population of mountain lions in the Upper Peninsula. Is that significant? I think so. Because in the past, the DNR has always been very careful to say, yes, we have mountain lions in the UP, but we don't have a breeding population of mountain lions. So apparently, there is something in that terminology of breeding population that takes the situation to the next level. And I'm not sure what that is. I don't know all the subtleties. I don't know the nuances. I don't know the details on that. I'll have to look into it further. But I think when you acknowledge there's a breeding population of a certain species, then it goes to the next level, is the way I'm taking this. And maybe by this weekend it'll be confirmed. If not, it's certainly something to keep an eye on. I feel like it's legit. I feel like it's the real deal. Okay, I told you that I made a trip north. For me, it's north. It might be south for you. Last week to Gaylord. I went to Treetops Resort for the annual MUCC convention. I was there because they honored me. They gave me an award, Conservation Communicator of the Year. Very nice award. And I got to be honest, of all the accolades and awards and achievements over the years, this one is one of the best, if not the best. That means the most to me because I have much respect for MUCC. And for them to honor me in this way, thank you. It does indeed mean a lot. And to be at that convention and watch the process about how MUCC comes up with their policies and votes on their different policies and comes up with the blueprint, the plan for MUCC for the next year is pretty interesting. There are some pretty spirited, pretty lively debates, but yet they all come to a consensus at the end and agree on how to move forward. Very, very interesting. By the way, at that convention, I had to speak a couple of times. Once when I got my award, then the next morning. And when I spoke on Sunday morning, I talked about my respect for MUCC's process of being a grassroots organization, and I believe this. If you are a member of MUCC, you can bring an idea forward and see if it'll fly. Well, I did that a few years ago with my idea that I think there should be no restriction on Great Lakes trolling anglers. We shouldn't be limited to 3 rods. I believe you should run as many rods as you are able to because the resource is protected by laws. Let's say on Saginaw Bay, you can catch 8 fish of 13 inches. Doesn't matter how many rods you run, right? 8 fish a day, 13-inch size limit. So the resource, the fish are protected. Why does it matter how many rods? Anyway, I snuck that into my remarks, hoping maybe to grease the skids a little bit. Also, along that line, we talked about the golf outing that I started last year along with MUCC to benefit MUCC's youth camp. As you are hearing this radio show, the website to sign up is now open. It's mucc.org/golf, and that is Friday, July 25th at the West Branch Country Club in beautiful West Branch. Friday, July 25th. Go to mucc.org/golf to sign up for that. Wednesday Night Live. We are now in the season of Lent, so we are doing another ham for the holidays, the Lenten version, with Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats. If you tune in to Wednesday Night Live every Wednesday night now through Easter, we will be giving away a Michigan Brand ham. Also, giving away a $25 gift card to the Lumberjack Restaurant now through Easter. Why are we doing that? Because coming up, Wednesday, April 23rd, whatever the first Wednesday is after Easter, we're going to do a Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant. You can call for reservations, 989-343-0892, 989-343-0892. Also, the Walleye for Warriors website is open if you want to sign up to become a boat captain. Walleyesforwarriors.org, walleyesforwarriors.org. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, after the break, Amy Trotter, Executive Director of MUCC, will join me to talk about convention and what came out of that. Then Michigan hunter Charlie Wiltse, who traveled to Ontario and shot a wolf, will tell his story of that hunt in hour number two, early season trolling and also river fishing down in St. Joe with Russ Clark of Seahawk Charters. Neal Godby of the DNR talks about the sturgeon restoration program. And in hour number 3, Kris Duerson of Rapid River Knives. And of course, we wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. That's coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK, that's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Sandusky on WMIC, 660 AM, 95.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette, WDMJ, 1320 AM. The segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Killer Food Plots. It's time. It's time to start thinking about food plots. In fact, depending on where you live in our state, it might even be time to do some frost seeding already. I always say, look, if you're going to do something, if you can, why not work with a Michigan-based family-owned company? And Killer Food Plots is a Michigan-based family-owned company. Check them out online at killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. Throughout this spring season, we will have Rich Krazan of Killer Food Plots on the show here to talk about that process. But check out the website, killerfoodplots.com. I told you last weekend I was in Gaylord at Treetops Resort for the MUCC annual convention. It is a very interesting process. It is a very interesting organization, one that I'm a member of and have much respect for. I also have a lot of respect for their executive director, Amy Trotter, who joins us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Amy, welcome back. How are you?
Very good. Thank you, Mike.
That was quite a weekend. You know, I've been to a convention before, but just for a few hours. To see more of the process this time around, it's pretty interesting.
It is. It's unique in Michigan and maybe even nationally in that we still make decisions with our grassroots members, and it really is driven by our members in the policy development process and the positions that we take here in Lansing.
So if somebody's to look at it, I like MUCC, or I'm interested, but I don't agree with everything. Well, number one, I don't think it would, you're never going to agree with everything. But if you want to make a change and you become a member, you can actually make that happen, which is very unique.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not a quick process, and so you do have to kind of roll up your sleeves and be willing to get involved. But yes, write a resolution. Our staff can help you navigate that process. It comes forward through our policy board and then ultimately to our annual convention. And that's where our membership votes on our policy positions. And it might get amended through the process. It might change. We might bring more information to the idea. And, so it kind of morphs and changes, but it's just like the sausage making process. Not very many people want to be involved, but we all like the outcome.
So what were the outcomes? What came out of this convention? Anything surprising as far as MUCC's position on topics?
Well, I think the most debated resolution that came out of the process was about underwater spearfishing opportunities and potential expansion. So that did pass. It got amended through the process, but ultimately we are support of taking a look at an expansion of opportunities in the Great Lakes for underwater spearfishing. And this is, again, free diving with a, propelled spear gun. It's not for everybody, and that's why, I think our membership is interested in, for those people who do that, giving them opportunities where it makes sense.
Yeah. When I first heard underwater spearfishing, I thought somebody was pulling my leg, because it sounds like a joke of some kind, but those people, though small in number, have a valid ability to be out there these days. And MUCC has been a part of that along the process. What else, Amy?
The other big thing that is going to be, discussed from the Natural Resources Commission is taking again a look at the Liberty and Independence hunt. Last year, the commission voted to make both of those hunts, the Liberty and Independence hunts, antlerless only for 2025. And our membership said, let's pump the brakes. Let's keep it as is because there's a lot of valid reasons and it's a relatively small proportion of overall take. And so they did come out in support of going back to, allowing the flexibility for those hunters that qualify for those hunts. And that's both disabled hunters, that's veterans, that's youth for the Liberty hunt. It's people with hunt from a standing vehicle permits. So, there's a lot of people that might qualify for those hunts.
When MUCC at the convention passes a resolution then, what weight does that carry? It's not like it automatically becomes a law. So what's the process?
Well, absolutely. That's when I say, Justin and I go to work is because we take those, we present them to the legislature. We're actually going to the House Natural Resources today. So this is Wednesday when we're recording. But yes, we're heading to the House Natural Resources where we give introductory presentations on our priorities for the year. So if there is a legislative component, we'll present it to the legislature and, look for legislative sponsors and champions. If it's a commission idea or a DNR idea, then we're going to work with them on those types of things. So we'll present them to the bodies of decision makers who have that authority, and then, we go to work. It might be running something through, for example, one of the many DNR stakeholder committees. So we serve on all of those. MUCC has a seat on pretty much every fur, fin, and feather committee there is. And so we'll present them through those bodies as well and again, work it through the process.
I know MUCC has no direct input into license fees, the cost, the amount that we pay, but was that topic discussed this weekend at all?
It was absolutely talked about, really not to take a position or one way or the other, but we did have Deputy Director Shannon Lott from the DNR attend and give a keynote presentation on Saturday, and she talked about the need. So I think it's understood, at least by our most active and engaged members, that, hunters pay for conservation, and if we want more habitat on the ground, if we want more research, biologists, all the work that they do, then, it's incumbent upon us to pay something for that. And that, the cost of doing business has gone up. So I think we acknowledge there's a need, but what exactly is the bill that is going to come out of that discussion? I think there's a spectrum of options there. And also we do need to look at mechanisms for long-term funding where more people in the general public, have a say, not have necessarily a say, but have a stake in paying for conservation.
How would you characterize MUCC, Michigan United Conservation Club's relationship or thoughts toward the NRC, the Natural Resources Commission, these days?
We do have a really good open working relationship with the Natural Resources Commission. We talk to them all the time, so we have one-on-one conversations, as well as, you'll see us testify on nearly every idea that's on their agenda where we have policy. So, we let them know, obviously, when they mess up. We let them know when we are going to be critical of a decision they made. We can try to be transparent and open. We don't always get what we want. Unfortunately on the coyote issue, we had to engage in litigation. So that's been slightly awkward to navigate, on a personal level when you're in the middle of litigation. But we do have hope that, that is moving forward actually with a proposal to put on the agenda to reopen that closed portion of the coyote season. So the commission is going to take a look at that.
Another topic along the line of the commission I heard this weekend was there's some concern about the new appointee as chairman of the NRC, but Justin Tomei of MUCC said, look, I understand that, but let's at least give the guy a chance to get his feet wet before we jump down his throat.
Correct. Yes, Congressman Dan Kildee is the new chair of the commission. He certainly has a well-established voting record in Washington, D.C. on, firearms issues, but also on Great Lakes issues. And we've worked with him on a handful of things, like, for example, stopping net pens in the Great Lakes when he was in Congress. But he hasn't even yet taken a real vote at the commission level. So, again, we don't want to judge him. And in fact, one of our resolutions this year is actually to develop a bit of an educational program for incoming commissioners so that they understand a little bit more of the history of the body, the authorities they have, how things have or haven't worked in the past, and, helping them establish relationships is also in the legislature, because that's one of the key things that we really want to do, is having both branches of state government talk to each other, so they're not just, again, debating issues back and forth through legislation or whatever else. We want to make sure that those relationships are established. So we actually host breakfast through the Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus to get them talking to each other and get them to know each other one-on-one.
Another big topic, to my mind, that came out of convention was the fact that you folks are encouraging people to sign up as individual members, to become a member of MUCC. You've been pushing that for the last year or so, Amy. Why is that so important?
Well, it's important because it affects our bottom line, really. We need more people in the boat helping us row it to be financially stable, but also to be successful. I mean, it takes more voices, and with more voices comes more power. And so we really need that financial stability, but we also need that power. And we want, again, to have that direct relationship with individual members, because our clubs are coming in as groups. Sometimes we only may talk to 4 or 5 individuals within that larger organization, and so it's important for us to establish those one-on-one relationships with individuals, and because they need to understand what we're bringing to the table, what values that we share, and what our mission is. And so having more people under the tent is a good thing. And certainly, we are the conservation infrastructure for organizations and for sportsmen and women here in our state. Without us, we believe that, the community would really fall apart and lose steam, and we'd get run over downtown. So, we need to have a strong MUCC to ensure that someone is, again, being a watchdog, promoting good conservation, and keeping us together. And
you can sign up to do that at the website MUCC.org, MUCC.org. Also, MUCC.org/golf is the way to sign up for the second annual Mike Avery Outdoors charity golf outing to benefit MUCC's youth camp. That'll be Friday, July 25th. So go to MUCC.org, sign up to become a member. It's just $40. Or you can also go to mucc.org/golf to sign up for the big golf outing, the second annual Mike Avery Charity Golf Outing. Thank you, Amy Trotter. Charlie Wiltse coming up after the break. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK. That's 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC AM and FM. That's 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in the Sioux on WKNW 1400 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by VersaSkins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Why buy a bunch of different sets of expensive hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set? And snap on and zip on an outer shell of a different camo pattern. You can do it in less than a minute. If you need big sizes, 4, 5, 6X, VersaSkins can help you out. If you are a saddle hunter, VersaSkins makes jackets specifically for that as well. Check out the website, versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. Or go to Amazon, amazon.com, and do a search for VersaSkins brand. VersaSkins, just change your skin for the season you're in. I want to turn our attention now to a friend of mine. His name is Charlie Wiltse. Got to meet Charlie through Primal Outdoors, the Primal podcast. But he recently got back from an adventure. I had a similar adventure a few years ago, wolf hunting in Ontario, and I can say it is one of the coolest, literally coolest hunts I've ever been on. And Charlie recently had an opportunity to do the same thing with the same guy I hunted with. And he had a very cool hunt himself. So I thought, Charlie, why don't you come on the show and talk more about it? And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Wiltse. Charlie, welcome back. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Good morning, Mike. Always great to be with you.
The pleasure is mine. So listen, was this a bucket list hunt, or is this an opportunity that just came up and you couldn't resist, or how did this all come together?
Well, I would definitely say it's a bucket list hunt. Ever since I started chasing elk out west, I've had a number of times, especially in Idaho, hunting the big basins, and you're all stoked and excited to hear them bugles, and all of a sudden you hear a wolf sound off, and you're just like, goodness gracious, well, the hunt's over now, and move on. And I've just always wanted to hunt wolves, and finally got that opportunity.
White River, Ontario, Canada, with Pete Jones.
White River, Ontario, with Pete Jones. Yes, he does a fantastic job. Great people. Him, Isabella, his guy Johnny. They're just good people.
Pete is the first. He's the guy that brought me to White River in the first place to bear hunt. He used to run Superior Bear Outfitters. So I've known Pete for a long time. I couldn't agree with you more. Just a nice, good, solid, hardworking guy. So you've been back about a week now. So this story, as we're telling it, is a couple of weeks old. But what was the weather like? What were the conditions when you were up there, Charlie?
Conditions, Mike, were about as tough as they can get. I've never hunted Canada in the winter. Been bear hunting with Ron there out of White River for a number of years. That's in June. So, we knew we needed to be prepared for quite a bit of snow and cold weather, but what we got hit with was much worse than that. Our first morning on stand, which would have been Sunday, the 2nd of March, we were hitting near negative 30-degree temperatures. I've hunted in some wild stuff, Mike, but nothing ever that cold.
It does get your attention, doesn't it?
It does, man. When we were leaving the cottage that morning, my cousin from Illinois was hunting with us, and we opened the door, and I have never felt a rush of cold air like that in my life. And we looked at each other. We're like, well, there's 13 hours for us sitting in this today.
It's intimidating. It can be a little scary if you let it, but it is part of the experience. It adds to the overall feel of the hunt, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I love pushing the limits and testing my body to, what type of conditions I can be in to hunt an animal. And we had options if we wanted to run heaters, but from the research we've done and talking with Pete, they're just such a smart animal. We didn't want to run any propane. We didn't want to, have that smell out there. So, no, something about it, especially being in Canada in the winter, 5 feet of snow, you're tucked in a little ground blind. It was quite magical.
You bring up an interesting point. People talk about wolves in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, and I know they're the same critter, but they're two different critters because wolves in our Upper Peninsula haven't really been hunted, so they don't have a fear of man, so they think they're top dog, no pun intended, in the food chain. The wolves in Ontario, because they are hunted, they have a healthy fear of man, and as a result, man, they're a very wily critter, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. It makes a very smart animal even that much smarter because they have been hunted for a long time. And another challenge up there too, Mike, is the snow. Those wolves up there have a lot more snow to deal with even than in the UP. And I know that's only 4 or 5 hours north of UP, but they get so much more snow there. So what we're finding out is the more snow there is, it's the less limited that they have for accesses to get out in a hurry. So that makes them even more smarter. It makes them even more nocturnal because they are just checking off everything because they know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So it makes it even that much more challenging.
Charlie, hang tight. I want to hear the rest of your story, including the outcome of your hunt, but we got to take a break here. You know how this works. We're talking with Charlie Wiltse. He is a hardcore outdoorsman from Michigan. The guy's hunted about everything you possibly can. In fact, in a few weeks now, he'll be hunting Michigan turkeys. But in the meantime, he went to White River, Ontario, Canada, to hunt wolves with Pete Jones. And we'll hear the rest of the story when we come back to hear how the story went. Coming up in hour number 2, we'll talk a little Southern Lake Michigan fishing, and in hour 3, Rapid River knives. Plus, of course, Dixie Dave. That's all coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on 2 stations, WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX and north of the bridge in Escanaba, WCHT 600 AM 93.5 FM. We're talking now with Michigan hunter Charlie Wiltse, who just got back recently from a wolf hunt in Ontario, Canada, hunting with Pete Jones. Charlie, so what was the setup? You said it was 30 below zero when you headed out there. What were you walking into? What was the setup? You're hunting over bait, right?
Yes. Yep. So hunting over bait. Setup basically is you get dropped off. We were looking. We had 4 to 5 feet of snow, so you got a trail to get in. You got to stay on that packed trail, or you're going to be waist deep plus in snow. Hunting ground blinds. They had actual pop-ups, and they have solid wood blinds. So my first morning on Sunday, the 2nd, again, right around negative 30 degrees. I'm in a pop-up blind, and I'm hunting over probably right around a 70 to 90 acre swamp. But mainly that, there's a little bit of water, so it's all open. And then about 160 yards away on the other side of that swamp is where the bait was set up.
You're gun hunting, obviously.
Yes, gun hunting. Yep, I was using a Browning 300. I like to make big holes.
I'm just curious, what was the bait? Was it moose?
Actually, pigs.
Pigs. Okay.
Pigs. Yep.
So
he's been using pigs and having really good luck with them.
So how did you see a wolf first day?
No. 13 hours on stand. Saw a lot of ravens and a couple bald eagles.
In 30 degree below temps.
And yeah, it got to right around negative 18.
Oh, it was a heat wave.
Again, running no heat. So come 7 o'clock when I got picked up, my body temperature was I was ready to feel some heat, to say the least.
At that point, did you say, what am I doing up here? Or you're like, okay, I knew this is going to be tough. I'm going to sit it out again.
Well, I was ready for the challenge. I knew, again, I knew it wasn't going to be an easy hunt, but that first day really told me that, hey, I got to really step it up here, because this could be, we could be sitting another, who knows how many days before
Sure.
I get another opportunity. So we just mentally really had to prepare ourselves each morning for that 13-hour set.
So day 2, do you go to the same spot?
Day 2, I went to the same spot because we knew there was activity there with that really deep snow, Mike, where my bait site was. Like I said, it was about 155 to 160 yards away from where I was hunting. There was two just awesome runways coming from the timber. One to my left and one straight in front of me, where those wolves were coming in. So they were very nocturnal, but we knew that they were hitting the sites. Just had to be there during the day to try to get a chance if one of them made a mistake.
And did that happen that second day?
It did. It happened. It warmed up a little bit that day. We were still in negative temperatures, a little more wind that day, but I had a great wind. It was almost coming straight in my face. And right around 2:30, so I've been sitting, you got ravens. You got ravens all day long, and then ravens are jumping in and off the bait site. You got bald eagles coming in. It's kind of fun watching them all work. Well, it was right around 2:30 in the afternoon, and I was trying to stay as focused as I could, because I knew that if I did get that opportunity, it could happen quick, and it sure did. So it was right around 2:30, and that one trail that I told you that was straight in front of me. So in the timber, it was kind of the train went up, so there was kind of like a little open area out of the timber, and then it dropped down into that swamp, and it was absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm going to probably have this picture in my mind forever. I thought, Mike, it was a 3 to 4 foot wide wolf when I first saw it. I knew it was gray and white, and it looked absolutely huge. So he was coming out of that timber straight ahead of me, so he probably would have been right around 200 yards or so. So my first reaction was I had my rifle on a tripod, and I looked down to make sure I'm pulling the butt of the rifle up to get into my shoulder. And as I get into my shoulder and get down into the scope, he was already at the bait. And I knew that I had to act quick, because he was just acting real darty. So he came into that bait, tried to get a little chunk of meat, and he started backpedaling. I mean, like reverse, just as fast as he could, and I'm trying to keep him in the scope. He backs up about 10 yards, so I'm thinking, okay, he's, probably around 165 or so, and he stops. I'm trying to get my heartbeat down. This is why we do this hunting thing. It's just, and I'm trying to get my heartbeat down, and I got him in the sights. And I couldn't, and I'm on a tripod, but I still was not feeling comfortable. So
Charlie,
I pulled my
real quick, running out of time here. You got him.
Yeah.
You got him.
Yeah. I pulled myself to the scope, went back in the scope, pulled the trigger, hit him just back a little ways. He started spinning around like, you got hit by a hornet. And I knew right away I had to get another shot in him, racked another one in, stayed in the scope, and I dropped him right there.
Excellent, Charlie. And you can see the picture of Charlie's wolf on my Facebook page, along with the negative comments. There's some people who don't like wolf hunting, but hey, it's a legal thing. I've done it. It's a great hunt. Congrats to Charlie Wiltse for taking care of that, getting business done in 30-degree below temps. We'll take a break for hour number 2, coming right up here on Outdoor Magazine. Good job, Charlie.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yater Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, The Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. Right here in the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And as always, I think the best way to listen to this show, if you can, is on your local radio station, your local AM or FM station. You get your local news and weather and sports and, even your local commercials. Maybe there's a sale or something you want to take advantage of. Plus, and here's the big thing, plus the broadcast stations get the content of the show before the podcast is uploaded. I make sure to protect those radio affiliates because they are my bread and butter. And listen, their airtime is very valuable. So the fact that I get access to that air each weekend, it means a lot to me. So I have a good relationship with those stations. I want to do everything I can to protect and promote those stations. If, however, your local station doesn't carry the show or even carry all 3 hours of the show, there is an option to hear the entire show, and it's via the podcast version of the show. Now, look, I know everybody has a podcast these days. Everybody has a podcast. It's a hot form of communication, and I get it. I love podcasting. So I make a podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show available, and it's exactly the same content. It's just heard via a different venue. So how do you hear the podcast? Well, it's on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It's on my Facebook page. It's also on just about all of the other podcast outlets you've ever heard of. Amazon, Audible, Twitter, now called X, LinkedIn, Apple, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, the whole 9 yards. I even put it on YouTube. So if you do a search for Outdoor Magazine Radio or Outdoor Magazine Podcast, you will find a way to listen. I do also each month podcast for a couple of my advertising partners, including Offshore Tackle and Angler Quest, QUEST boats. So keep an eye out or an ear out for those as well. All right, so we're in springtime, right? Depending on where you live in our state. It's either springtime or it's really late winter, but it's coming. If you go south in our state, it's really starting to feel like springtime. And this time of year, I start to think about, open water trolling out there on southern Lake Michigan when the weather allows, or at least getting out on the river for some steelhead action. If you go down to St. Joe and you look for Russ Clark of Seahawk Charters, fishseahawk.com, he can get you on the water. Maybe it's going to be the St. Joe River. Maybe it's going to be out there on Lake Michigan. But Russ is on the water this morning, and he's with us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line as well. Russ, how are you doing? Welcome back to the show.
Oh, good. How are you doing, Mike? Thanks for the invite.
Well, you have an open invitation on my show. I'm doing great, but I'm not on the river like you are this morning, right, Russ?
You're not. And, Mike, it's been a quiet start so far. We've had some muddy water, from some of the melt-off snow, and had some rain. So we're still hoping, but so far it's been quiet.
Hey, that's fishing.
That is.
Russ, I don't want to get too far off topic here, but when you have clients on the water, either in the river or out in the big lake, and you run into tough conditions and the fish are not cooperating, do they usually understand, or does that go back to their level of fishing experience before they can get it?
I would say 90%, Mike, are true sportsmen, fishermen, hunters, and they know, there can be good days and bad days. Well, every day's a good day in the outdoors,
yep.
But there can be some days just doesn't work out like you want,
Well, if they see you working hard for them, that's really all they can ask.
That is. Yep, that's true.
So you're on the St. Joe River this morning. Describe your setup for me. What are you seeing, Russ?
Just, a bit of stained water, not too stained, but it is, definitely stained yet. And, but it is coming down. The water levels aren't overly high like they can be, in the spring. Actually, we could use some water for the marinas downriver. because Lake Michigan's so low right now that we're all kind of nervous about getting our boats out, actually.
Well, I want to talk more about those water levels coming up, but looking at the river right now, is it water level, water temp, or water color that is the main factor you're looking for?
All the above. It can be, really, and we just don't like water that's too muddy. And the water temperature is warming up. We were 38 last week. We're up in the low 40s now. So, these fish will start to move from the deeper runs to the gravel, usually when that starts to happen.
Do you concentrate on the lower stretch of the river down near town, or you're upriver?
Upriver. I fish the lower sections of the river a lot in the fall, midwinter. But steelhead, like most rivers, tend to move upstream as you get, water flow and, in the springtime. There's just more gravel and rock in the upper stretches of St. Joe, and that tends to be where they go.
Were you able to fish the river this winter as cold as it was? And did you have ice, or were you able to get out?
No, there was a lot of ice in January. I didn't really start fishing until later February because there was quite a bit of ice this year. Kind of had a good old-fashioned winter, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, we did. Yeah. How would you describe the St. Joe? I mean, we hear about the Manistee, we hear about the PM, we hear about the Ensemble. Where's the St. Joe in all this hierarchy of Michigan rivers?
Yeah, it's a bigger river, much more like, I guess, maybe the Grand or Big Manistee. It's a bigger, wider river compared to some of the smaller rivers in Michigan. So the fish can be very migratory here. You can get them in one spot, and the next day they could be 4 or 5 miles upriver the next day. And we do have ladders, so they can go through ladders, and they actually can go as far as Indiana to the South Bend area. There's a ladder in Berrien Springs, Buchanan, and Niles, so they can go all the way up.
The lower stretch right there in town, is that dredged? Is there a shipping channel down there?
There is. Down by the piers and stuff, they do dredge that. But as you get up a little ways, it's not dredged, Mike. But we are getting some emergency dredging done. It's a pretty high ticket as far as cost. So It's just getting the funding and how we pay for it's the big thing. So what depth of water are you normally in? I mean, is that river 10 feet deep? Is it 6, or what are you dealing with? Most of the areas I fish, I would say, is 4 to 8, 4 to 10 this time of year. Probably a little more in the shallower than the deeper.
So how do you target those fish in that shallower water?
There's several ways. I mean, you can do plugs, mag lips, hot and tots, wiggle-warts. Those are all popular. Flatfish sometimes, bobber and beads, bobber and spawn bag, or, just spawn bags on a 3-way. So it's kind of, there's various methods for sure.
I love to hear you say flatfish. Those things have been around forever, and they probably caught more fish out of Michigan rivers than anything else out there.
They're just an old school bait that still works in the right, current levels.
What do you mean by that?
Well, flatfish tend to work when the water's not too fast. It's hard to keep them working correctly in real fast water. So you just got to kind of match your lure to the current speed.
When we're trolling in the summertime out in Saginaw Bay, it's real important to tune the baits so they run correctly. They're in the river with maybe shorter leads, and is that as critical? Do you have to tune baits in the river?
It, to some extent, especially flatfish you do, but a lot of the lures come pre-tuned. I mean, sometimes you do get one that's out of tune. You got to bend that eyelet one way or the other, try to get it where it's running right. Most often you get it running right. Every once in a while you get one that just doesn't behave, and it's hard to get it to do what it's supposed to.
And then if you catch a fish on them, will they sometimes go out of tune or not so much?
Oh, they can. Yep, for sure.
So this morning, right now in the boat, like how many folks do you have in the boat with you?
4.
So how many lines are you running?
I'm running 6. That seems to pretty much cover the, 6 is enough. And especially keeping debris off the lines and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. So are you running plugs this morning?
I am. Yep.
All right. Russ, hang tight. We got to take a break. So I'm going to let you get back to your fishing for a couple of minutes. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more. We're talking with Russ Clark of Seahawk Charters in St. Joe. The website, fishseahawk.com, fishseahawk.com. He's on the St. Joe River now as we're talking. He's got a crew out there trying to catch some steelhead. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Also, if time allows, we will get into Russ's program for jumping out in the Big Lake for early season salmon, specifically coho, I would think. That's coming up real soon, if not happening right now. Again, the website, fishseahawk.com, fishseahawk.com. We'll talk more with Russ. Also, Neal Godby of the Michigan DNR about the sturgeon restoration program and more coming up here in hour 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS and north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine, well, all I've got to do is, right, all right. What does that mean? In case you didn't hear it, we'll try it again. You know what that sound is. That's my Rapid River knife locking back open. I just pulled it out of my pocket. It's always there. It's funny. When I see people on the street or at a meeting or an event or something that say, hey, let's see that Rapid River knife. Well, boom, there it is. I'm not kidding you. I always carry a Rapid River knife. Why? Because I think a knife is one of the most valuable tools that somebody who loves the outdoors can have. I use mine every day. Unfortunately, I don't use it every day for such cool things as field dressing a deer or a bear or even filleting out a fish. No, but I'll use it every day for opening a box or something like that. But it's nice to have with me. If you're going to carry a knife, why not carry a knife handmade by craftsmen in Michigan's Upper Peninsula? Because that's what Rapid River knives are. If you go to the website rapidriverknifeworks.com, that's rapidriverknifeworks.com, use the promo code Avery10. You'll get 10% off everything on their website. Better yet, go to the store on US 2 just east of Rapid River, and you can check out the entire selection in person. Again, use the promo code Avery10. You'll get 10% off. Now through, I think into early April, also Rapid River is having this new this program where they're giving away an Idaho bear hunt for color phase. I realize it's not really a phase. For color phase bear in Idaho. Go to rapidriverknifeworks.com. You can sign up. And one more thing. They're announcing a new line of knives, and Kris Duerson of Rapid River will join us in the third hour to talk more about that. rapidriverknifeworks.com. Right now, though, we're talking fishing with Russ Clark, Captain Russ Clark of Seahawk Charters in St. Joe. The website, fishseahawk.com, fishseahawk.com. Russ, please tell me that during that commercial break you got a hit. Russ? I'm going to say that's a no. Try. Is he there, John? Do you hear him? Russ, you want to give him a try then? We must have dropped off. During that break, we must have lost Russ. We'll get him back, though. Jonathan's on the phone with him right now to give him a call. Sometimes we can tell when those phone calls drop, and oftentimes we cannot tell, and this is one of those cases. So we're giving Russ a call, Captain Russ Clark of Seahawk Charters, fishseahawk.com. I'll set the scene for you again. Russ is on the St. Joe River, the Upper St. Joe, up by the dam. I think he said he's got 4 anglers with him on the water this morning. John just reconnected with him. So, all right, Russ. Hey, listen, Russ, tell me that during that break that you got a fish.
We didn't. I wish I could have said that. I'd like to hit one right now.
Let me ask you, okay, so I am a licensed charter captain. I'm not putting myself in your level at all, okay? Not, so please don't misunderstand. But I do take people out fishing occasionally, and I feel that pressure. When the fish aren't cooperating, and I got people in my boat on the Angler Quest wanting to see fish, and I can't make it happen, it gets to me. I feel it. Is that just because I haven't been doing this long enough, or do you feel it?
No, I definitely feel it, Mike. I've been chartering. I started in 1985, right out of college, and thought I'd just do this a bit, and now almost 40 years still doing it, but you still feel the pressure. I mean, some days it's diamonds, and some days it's stone, but boy, yeah, when it's not happening, it's tough.
Yeah, but the St. Joe is a good river. I mean, when Mother Nature cooperates and the conditions get back to where you're looking for, you're going to be catching steelhead there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
When will you jump out into the big lake, Russ?
Probably as soon as possible, Mike. Right now, there's too much ice out there, and but usually the fishing can be great, as soon as you can get out there. In southern Lake Michigan, Indiana, Illinois waters, they're already getting them, but it's just too much ice out of St. Joe yet.
You were on the big lake this time of year last year, weren't you?
I was. And I would be honest, I'd say it's probably not much more than a week or 10 days away that could happen.
Okay. Will you jump out there with the big boat, or do you take your river boat out there first?
No, the early trips will be the little boat. We're fishing, right next to the shoreline, basically anywhere from 6 to 20 foot, pretty shallow. Just surface lines, body baits with planer boards and flat lines. So, you don't need downriggers or any of that stuff. So we're fishing, but it's got to be calm to do that, Mike, with a riverboat.
Are you looking for browns or coho or what?
It's mostly coho with occasional steelhead and even an occasional king once in a while, and browns too, but, mostly coho.
Well, Southern Lake Michigan is known for phenomenal springtime coho fishing, and it's not tough fishing, right? I mean, you're some days you're going to go out there and troll through a school of fish and be done.
You do. I mean, every rod can go, when it's on, and usually just looking, kind of zigzag along the shoreline, looking maybe for a little warm water pocket, and that's usually the spot.
So are you paralleling the shoreline, kind of running the troughs that the waves have made, or what?
You do. Yep. You go in and out of the, like you say, the troughs, drop-offs, and definitely go in and out of them.
Running boards, Russ?
We do. Yep.
I think
boards are real effective.
I think I remember you're an offshore guy, aren't you?
Right now I'm with Church, a local company.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you set those things up? I mean, I'm not familiar with Church because I'm an offshore guy. Do you release those boards and have them drop back? Do you bring them in with a fish? How do you set those up?
You can do either. Sometimes I like to keep the board on because, you can have a stopper, where the board will stop and not, run into the fish and, knock them off. But sometimes I find it's easier almost to bring the board in and then take it off and then let them fight the fish.
So how big are these springtime coho?
They're not, they're probably most often 2 to 4 pounds. You might get one once in a while, 6 or 7, but they're not big fish. But the action makes up for the size.
Okay, so yeah, these aren't like fishing summertime kings.
Correct. And then we usually get a king fishery that starts up the last week of April and month of May and well into June. And I kind of feel like it could be really good in Southern Lake Michigan just because the water temperature is colder and a lot of ice in the lake. And I always feel like that benefits our fishery here in Southern Lake Michigan.
So you see coho early in the year, and then you see kings later in the summer. Yep. So then, do these kings
or even spring?
Spring, okay.
The kings.
But then, those fish kind of move their way north, and they head up into Ludington and Manistee. Do you have enough kings to target later in the summer, or do you switch over to trout completely?
We still do, like say July, August, we couldn't put a multi-program out. We definitely will have something down for lake trout. There's no question about that. But we will also, target some kings with some boards, flasher and flies, the out downs up higher. So try to catch both.
Do you like the river better or the big lake better?
I'd have to say I like both. The per hour catching fish, the lake's easier. Mm-hmm. But I do like the transition to be able to change over from one to the other. By the end of the river season, I'm ready for the lake and vice versa.
And isn't it nice to have those options?
It is. We're just blessed in Michigan to have the natural resources that we got with the salmon and trout and walleye and smallmouth bass and, everything we got.
Oh, I agree completely. I bet where you are, you see a lot of Chicago people?
You do. Yep. In the summertime, St. Joe's, St. Joe, New Buffalo, South Haven, Saugatuck, it's all very touristy.
What about Skamania? For so many years, that was the talk of these summer run steelhead, and St. Joe was one of the hot rivers, or supposed to be. Did that fishery ever set up?
It still happens. I mean, the ideal situation is sometime, it seems like it's a little earlier than it used to be. It can even be late May. It used to be more around that 4th of July period, but late May into June. And if the water warms up and then, offshore, but gets cold inside near the river, those Skamania come in by the pier heads. And then they're very exciting. I mean, very jumpy and hard to keep on, but they're quite a fight,
Can you tell right away when you hook a fish if it's a Skamania?
Yeah, immediately. Yeah. They're out of the water. Yeah.
Before we let you go and get back to fishing, and by the way, thank you for your time. I do appreciate it when a guy is on the water with clients and he talks to me. So thank you, Russ. You mentioned you mentioned water levels. Now they're down.
They are. Lake Michigan has really dropped this year. We didn't have the fall rains that we typically have, and the marina is, down by St. Joe, it's shallow. I'm getting out. I have an area that's only 2.5 feet, and ooh, I really need 3.5 feet. So they are going to do some dredging, but they can't dredge all the marinas, So yeah, we're hoping for. But I think the melt off of the snow from up north and the tributaries will help bring the lake up some.
See, that's why I was surprised when you told me that, because I'm thinking, okay, we got some snowfall this year. We had some ice coverage. Should have helped with water levels, but you're right. We didn't get much rain last fall.
No, it's beautiful bluebird days almost every day.
Yeah. All right, Russ, listen, I appreciate your time. I'm going to let you get back to fishing, catch those clients, some steelhead, and you and I will talk again in the future, all right?
Okay, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Russ Clark of Seahawk Charters, the website fishseahawk.com. That's fishseahawk.com. He's down in St. Joe, or up in St. Joe, depending on where you're listening. In St. Joe, on the river right now, struggling. Hey, when Mother Nature doesn't want to cooperate, she does not want to cooperate. But all you can do is make the most of it, right? Those of us who love the outdoors know that. You can't mandate, you can't control Mother Nature. All you can do is take advantage of what she gives you and go out there and enjoy it. And that's what Russ is doing. We'll take a break. When we come back, Neal Godby of the Michigan DNR talking about the Sturgeon Restoration Program. They'll be starting their sturgeon guarding program before too long. And then coming up in hour number 3, Kris Duerson of Rapid River Knives, right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on the Twister, 92.1 WTWS. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS, 1320 AM, and in Manistee and WMLQ, 97.7 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination. And right now, the folks at Linwood Beach are kind of in transition, right? They had a real good ice fishing season on Saginaw Bay. The ice is gone. Now it's time to get the boats out. Well, Linwood Beach can be a great launch spot, a great place to start your springtime, late wintertime, early season walleye trolling fishing adventure out of the Linwood Beach Marina. Great location right there at the end of Linwood Road. Turn right, and you're right there on the west shore of the bay. Great people, great facilities. Hey, if you need help getting the boat ready for the water, Linwood Beach can help you out as well. Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. Now, some of the folks who were fishing out of Linwood Beach Marina this past winter, ice fishing, actually hooked sturgeon. I think it is so cool that's happening. We saw it a lot in the Saginaw River as well. To talk more about that, well, statewide at least, Neal Godby with the Michigan DNR Fisheries Biologist. Neal, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are things in your world?
Doing great. Hoping, as you said, it's been a great winter, hard winter, but good for ice fishing, but we're looking forward to some open water fishing as well.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Listen, I talk with the folks, sturgeon people, quite a bit around the state, down at the St. Clair area, up at the Black Lake. What you folks have done along with these local sportsmen's groups is pretty impressive, Neal.
Well, thank you. We're pretty excited about the state of the status of the sturgeon population. Many of our waters, particularly Black Lake, like you said, with those partnerships between DNR, Michigan State University, and Sturgeon for Tomorrow and other groups. Good things going on.
It's interesting. One of the things I find most interesting about sturgeon is it takes so long to see the results. It's not like stock and walleye where you can see an impact in a few years. When you're dealing with sturgeon, you've got to be patient, huh?
Oh, you really do. They're a long-lived species, and when female may not become mature first spawning till 15 years after they were stocked, or longer. And then they only spawn, they don't spawn every year, maybe every 3 or 4 years. So it really takes some time and commitment to get that population recovered. So
I know what the long-term goals have been to reestablish a sturgeon population in Michigan, but short-term, what are you looking at? What would you guys like to accomplish, say, for this year coming up or the next couple of years?
Well, I work in the Northern Lake Huron Management Unit, so my focus is generally in waters in our area. So we're studying sturgeon populations in the St. Mary's River, obviously in Black Lake and the inland waterway, Burton, Mullet Lake. We're going to be surveying the population in Burt Lake this year, but really continue to study that Black Lake population. We just had our sturgeon harvest season the first Saturday in February 1st, and that was very successful. When record time, it was over in 17 minutes, but actually had 776 anglers register to participate in that ice fishery. So really, that although it's a small season, short season, it really serves to generate interest and enthusiasm and awareness about the sturgeon populations throughout the state.
And it won't be long now before you guys start your folks start your sturgeon guarding program there in that area.
Yeah, correct. In April and May, Sturgeon for Tomorrow organizes a sturgeon guarding program in the Black River to have volunteers guard or monitor, look over those spawning sites 24/7 to reduce poaching incidents. And that's really between poaching, overharvest, and habitat degradation, some things that really cause the sturgeon population to decline historically. But with efforts like the sturgeon guarding program, stocking, and general awareness, sturgeon rehabilitation is really, and conservation is really improving.
So future looks bright for Michigan sturgeon, or is that an overstatement?
Yeah, I think it does. With, as you mentioned, Saginaw Bay is starting, Saginaw River, people are starting to see and catch some sturgeon. A lot of those are stocked, as a result of some stocking efforts. And over time, those populations will continue to grow if we can continue to stock. And again, we're continue to stock Black Lake system, Burt Lake, and Mullet Lake as well.
Excellent, Neal. Appreciate your time. Neal Godby, a fisheries biologist for the Michigan DNR. The website for the DNR, michigan.gov/DNR, michigan.gov/DNR. The sturgeon fishery, the sturgeon restoration program, I think is a great conservation success story that we've seen right here in our lifetime. It's not the only one. I mean, there are others as well. Maybe I'll talk about that after the break coming up in the Ask Avery segment. A topic in mind, but I'm going to have to wait just probably one more week. So anyway, coming up after the break, the Ask Avery segment. Then in hour number 3, Kris Duerson of Rapid River Knives, and of course, wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us in Port Huron, WPHM 1380 AM, and in Traverse City, WTCM 580 AM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the good folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. One side note here, too, and I have a big thank you to the folks at Security Credit Union. Last year, we had the first Mike Avery Outdoors charity golf outing to benefit MUCC's youth camp. It was as much of anything the first year, just a proof of concept. Is this going to work? I approached the folks at Security Credit Union to see if they wanted to get involved, and they did, at a very generous level for a first-year event. Well, I recently talked to the folks at Security Credit Union, and they said, by the way, is your top dog sponsorship level still available? And I said, yes, it is. They said, we want it. So Security Credit Union is coming in. I don't think we can call it a title sponsorship. Maybe we can. I don't know. But they are going to significantly boost our revenue from the event to make sure that we raise money for MUCC's youth camp. I just think that is such a stand-up thing to do. And I can't thank them enough. You cannot overstate the importance of partnering with good people. That's why I've been able to do this as long as I have. Because, I think God's influence, God has blessed me and this show, and he's helped me find these different partnerships that develop into good long-term relationships. And again, thank you to the folks at Security Credit Union, not only for sponsoring each week's Ask Avery segment, but for really stepping up and helping to, I'm sure, make this second annual charity golf outing just a huge success. So thank you very much, Security Credit Union. Okay, so I wanted to talk this week on the show for the Ask Avery segment about a follow-up to the rod restriction issue for Great Lakes trolling anglers. Little behind-the-scenes conversations here. I think that's going to be more appropriate next week. So, a couple of random thoughts here, if you just indulge me. People often ask me, Avery, what was your best hunt you've ever been on in your life? I got 3 of them. First time I ever went to Africa was a life-changing experience. Not just because of the wildlife and what you see there. I mean, when you're sitting over the water hole and the first time a giraffe walks in, it's like, okay, this little farm kid from West Michigan is not in Michigan anymore, okay? This is a different part of the world. So that was very, very cool. The culture threw me. That's a topic for a different conversation, but the cultural shock was, again, it was a shock. Yeah, but that's a topic for a different time. The other hunt that sticks out in my mind, and we were talking with Charlie Wiltse in the first hour about this, going to Ontario and harvesting a moose, or an elk, a wolf, with Pete Jones. He's the same guy I had hunted bears with up there. He said, look, I'm also a wolf guide. Why don't you want to come up and take a wolf? I'm like, that's a bucket list item. The conditions were brutal. When I was up there, it was 40 below one morning. And when you walk under the 40 below temps, it gets your attention, and it's intimidating. Was able to take a wolf. The smartest, cagiest, wiliest critter I've ever hunted was a wolf. And I've never received so much negative online junk as when I posted the picture of that wolf, of me holding that wolf. A legal harvest, a legal animal. John, can you rattle my connection down there a little bit? Thank you, John. When I harvested that wolf, I had so many anti-hunters that came out of the woodwork. It was unbelievable. You know, the usual death threats and stuff, but just the number of people who wanted to belittle that experience and take away from that experience, and just the vile vitriol reaction to that was just very disturbing. I've gotten a little bit used to that, but the first time around was very disturbing. But actually, I got to be honest. Of all my hunting experiences, the one that really got me going and actually brought me to tears was a Michigan whitetail hunt with my son James and grandson Trent. We were all sitting in the same blind when a little spike buck came in, and Trent was able to make a good, quick, clean, humane killing shot on that animal. It's a good thing that it was dark when we recovered that buck, because honestly, I had tears in my eyes. It was the most emotional hunt that I've ever been on. And then the other topic I want to talk about is sturgeon and our conservation success stories. We're going to have to save that for another session. So thank you again, Security Credit Union, for making each week's Ask Avery segment possible. Also, a big, huge thank you for really stepping up to the top dog sponsorship level of our second annual charity golf outing. You're gonna help us start out this event on a positive note. I have a goal in mind. Last year, for a first-year event, we raised $10,000, and that was my goal. This year, I have a goal considerably more aggressive. I'm not gonna talk about it yet, but it's out there. SecurityCU.org. SecurityCU.org. Take a break. When we come back at the top of the hour, Kris Duerson of Rapid River Knives and wild game chef Dixie Dave Minar.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yater Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, The Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. Right here in the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with me. I do certainly appreciate it. I was talking earlier in the show about a couple of things I just want to follow up on briefly right here. I got a real nice award from the folks at MUCC last weekend, a Conservation Communicator of the Year. And it got me thinking about how did I get to this point in my career where I'm able to get something like that. it's because along the way I have been able to, and I know this is God's influence, able to partner with the right people to help me maintain my any viability that I have over so many years. And that's my advice to people getting into business in general. You've got to find the right people to partner with. When I partnered with Kris Duerson and the folks at Rapid River Knife Works, it was like, boom, this is a solid partnership, one that I hope will continue on for as long as I'm doing this, because the folks at Rapid River, they make great products. They make products that everybody can use, and these things are guaranteed for life. And they're always constantly, especially this last couple of years, always coming up with new things, new products, new promotions. And it just seemed like a great time, because there's something coming up right now that you might not even know about yet. It seemed like a great time to check in with Kris Duerson, the man behind Rapid River Knives. I tell you what, it's tough. It's tough to pin Kris down because the guy's going a million different directions, but I think we've got him now. Kris, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm great, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's always nice to hear your voice because, man, Kris, you got so much going on these days.
Yeah, we do. We never stop. We're always doing promotions and new knives, and I could use about 10 more people. But yeah, it's fun. We keep things new, and we're always on the run. That's for sure.
Before we get into what's the new stuff going on now, for folks who don't know the story, remind me, how did you get into this? I mean, you used to work for a different knife company, right?
Yeah, I started working at Marble Arms when I was in college. Heck, it was kind of scary, but it was 25 years ago now, and started working there, refurbishing old knives and that type of thing. And when they were kind of on their way out, I happened to be graduating college that year, and I graduated with a degree in robotical engineering from Lake Superior State. And then I told my parents, and I'm gonna start a knife company in the barn. Even my own parents called me crazy and told me I'd never make it. But started it in the barn and said I'm going to give it a try for a year, and here we are, 25 years later, going strong, and couldn't be happier.
Several things interesting about that story, but the fact that your degree is in robotics and now your knives are completely handmade. How did that all happen?
Yeah, so I went into an engineering program, and I ended up settling on robotics, and I just thought it was kind of neat. I just wanted an engineering degree, and I ended up getting an engineering degree, and then I thought, well, what was I doing? I don't want to, at the time, the only robots were in the auto industry, and I didn't want to live in Lower Michigan, down by Detroit. So I thought, well, I'm going to give it a shot and, use part of what I learned in college and as far as marketing and that type of thing, and give it a whirl. So, but yeah, our knives are all completely handmade.
Well, I always say every week, I say handmade by craftsmen in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. I think that makes you guys pretty special.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's very, very difficult now to go find something made in the United States, and B, something that you can walk right into our factory store and watch it through the windows, watch every step of the process going on. At any given time, there's between 15 and 20 guys in all the windows, and people up front laser engraving the knives. There's all kinds of neat stuff going on.
Well, you've turned that store into an absolute destination.
Yeah, I get that. It's really neat to read some comments online. We get just this past week, we had a person mention online that that's their family. It's a destination for their family every summer. They don't know what they're going to do in the UP yet, but they know for sure they're stopping at Rapid River Knife Works, and that's what we love to hear. That's why we did what we did with the big store.
Wow,
make it really unique.
That is very cool to hear. And, since we started working together, I've started to collect kind of a collection of Rapid River knives myself. I just talked to Sue the other day. I ordered some more stuff. I almost at one time I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have one model from everything in the line? And I thought, I can't afford that. You got so many different products out there. And now you got a new venture, a new project, a new program you're started up. What is that?
So I decided to create a new series of knives that's built, I would say, extra durable, and not quite as fancy, but our knives are known for being too beautiful to use. So anyways, I wanted to make and go after the big game hunters, especially the people that are real hardcore bush crafters, that type of thing. So I came up with, it's called the Base Camp series. When you go hunting, you always have a base camp, and you can't take a whole bag of tools with you when you're on a pack hunt or a mountain hunt. So we're coming up with a Base Camp series, and we're just getting ready to drop the first knife tomorrow. It's our Base Camp Chef knife, which is really unique. That's something that I've never seen before. I don't think anybody really took that into consideration, that a lot of people like to have good kitchen cutlery with them when they're in the bush. So I created a very unique little mini cleaver / kitchen knife / caping quartering knife that's going to be the Base Camp Chef knife. So we're gonna drop that on tomorrow. So and all the handles are going to be heavy duty canvas micarta, which is extremely durable. But the whole knife only weighs 5 ounces.
So by the time folks hear this radio show this weekend, those will be out there, and they'll be able to see them, on the website, rapidriverknifeworks.com?
They will, yes. We're the first 50 of those knives. We're gonna number each one of them individually, and those will all come with orange. Our company colors are orange, black, and white micarta. Then after that, you'll be able to order it in just about anything that you want, any color you want. And it's also, the knife comes with a sheath too. So a sheath and a knife sharpener, so you have your whole little kit right there.
Wow.
Which we're adding to this, so it's gonna grow.
Okay, so that was my next question. So this is going to be the first knife in this new line?
Yes, this is the first knife. And we're releasing this one first because some of the other knives that we're making are more complex. We're making a bushcraft knife that is actually like 3/4 of an inch. So it's a little over 1/4 inch thick for the people that want to start their fire with the fire steel that's going to come with the knife, and people that want to take one knife to hammer in tent stakes and that type of thing. A knife that'll literally do everything. You do not have to worry about breaking it. And then we're also making for the first time ever, we're making a full line of 10-inch Bowie knives. Those are going to be 1/4 inch thick. That whole knife will be about 16 inches long. We're also making a folding bone saw / just saw. Primarily for sawing. When you get out and you shoot a 700-pound elk or a giant bear and you have to cut the pelvis, knives just don't do that. So people get up. I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm gonna get stuck up there because I don't have anything to take the whole animal apart with." Now we're gonna offer that. We're gonna have a nice bone saw, and then we're bringing the Ready Axe back. The axe that I designed in 2006. On a bear hunt in Montana. I got all the way up into the Cabinet Mountains and realized that I needed like a little tool, a chopping tool. I needed something, just a little more than a knife. So we're bringing the Ready Axe back. Those are all going to be a part of this Base Camp line. And then we've got 2 or 3 other things, ideas in the works as well.
You've always got ideas in the works. We're talking with Kris Duerson of Rapid River Knives, the website rapidriverknifeworks.com, rapidriverknifeworks.com. If you go there, use the promo code Avery10 to get 10% off your order. Also, while you're there, sign up for the Idaho bear hunt. We'll talk more about that after the break. But that website, rapidriverknifeworks.com, is a beautiful website. A lot going there on there. Use the promo code Avery10. You know what? Better yet, go to the store itself on US 2, just east of Rapid River. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, more with Kris Duerson right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Muskegon on WKBZ. That's 1090 AM. You can hear us in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Manistee, WTIQ 1490 AM 95.3 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Let them create an outdoor getaway in your backyard. And down here in this part of the state, it's pretty much springtime. And the folks from Reader are going to be out there anytime doing the springtime cleanup. You know what? You could do it. I could do it. Right? I'm not that old and that lazy that I can't clean up my own yard. But that cleanup kind of coincides with other things too. It's like, you know what? I'd rather be out shooting my bow or patterning my shotgun, or during some turkey season scouting, or even early season turkey hunting, or maybe out on Saginaw Bay doing some early trolling. You know, I got other things I can be doing. So why not let the pros come in and take care of it? And that's what I'm doing with Reader. You can do the same. Give them a call. Check out their website, readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. While you are online, here's a website I want you to check out. It's a very cool, revamped website, rapidriverknifeworks.com, rapidriverknifeworks.com. Obviously, the website of Rapid River Knives, a very important advertising partner of mine. I don't say sponsor because they are partners. I think Kris Duerson is a good guy, and I think he's a partner of mine. And Kris, once again, congrats on everything you're doing. When you come up with these new products, like this new Base Camp line, it's pretty clear to me this comes from your love and your knowledge of the outdoors. It's not because somebody suggests this, or maybe it is, but most cases it's all right. I'm out there using these products and I see a need, and I'm in a position where I can fill it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been a sportsman, a hunter my whole life, and I do. So with that being said, I do love feedback from customers, and I'm always listening, always hearing, but when I find myself in a situation where I don't have the right tool, the first place my mind goes is, well, what can we build? What can we do? How can we, I can't be the only one that's in this situation. So a lot of our products are built out of just necessity and the need for something different. Obviously, there's millions of knives in the world, but I think that's what really makes us unique is that everything has a specific use and a specific need.
What makes you, this may be an unfair question, okay? What makes you, Kris Duerson, and Rapid River different from some of these mass-produced knives that have, they got big companies behind them, they're very well-known names?
Well, so the biggest difference is when we say handmade, our knives are handmade. A lot of those big companies that have the big names behind them, they own 25 to 30 different brands. All of the knives come out, they literally come out the end of a machine and they flash heat treat the edge of the blade and put their name on it and throw it in bubble packing. Nobody checks the edges. There's very little quality control. And in our situation, we hand grind every blade. We hand test every knife for the sharpness. And every handle is looked at in the light and then after it's polished to make sure there's no scratches in it. And we offered like some of the most unique handle material that you can find anywhere in the world. And that makes us Rapid River so unique.
Well, this knife right here, the one that I just opened, I've never heard of a knife with a handle made of this material, Kris.
Yeah, woolly, man. And the woolly mammoth ivory is so much fun to work with. I like to see people when they walk into our store, if we have them in stock, they look over and they see, hey, what material is that? And I tell them it's woolly mammoth ivory. They say, what? No, what is it really?
That was my reaction too.
Mammoth, yeah, we've made knives out of so many different handle materials. I could never name them all. We also do really neat things like with the folks that shoot their first elk, they take the ivories out. We put the ivories in an acrylic epoxy in the handle with a black background, so you can actually have your elk ivories on an elk antler handled knife that from the elk that you harvested. You call up a giant knife company and ask them to do that. They're going to laugh at you because they actually don't have the capability of doing it because it's all machine made.
You said something in the first part of this conversation I have to follow up on because I've felt this before. You said some people think our knives are too pretty to use. Honestly, when I got my first custom-made Rapid River knife, I did want to put it up on a shelf. I thought, I can't get this bloody, I can't get this muddy, I can't get this dirty. And I said that to you, and you said, if you do that, Mike, you're going to break my heart. You got to use them.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to use them. And that's so from day one when I started my company and I was by myself, on day one, I said, you know what? We're going to have the best warranty in the business. Like you literally will not be able to beat our warranty. So that means 100% lifetime warranty on the knife, 100 free sharpening and polishing for life, everything. People call up and say, hey, my handle, the wood swelled a little bit on my Stockman pocket knife. And we have them ship it to us. We sand it, polish it right down, make it look like new again, and send it back. We want you to be happy with it, whether it's a pocket knife, an axe, fillet knife, doesn't matter. If it's got our name on it, that's our warranty. So you can use them, you can get them dirty, you can get them bloody, you can do whatever you want, but just always remember that you can send it to us, and we'll make it look like the day you bought it for free.
You said this new line of base camp knives is really big and burly and extra heavy duty and thick. Is that the same steel that's in your other knives, or is this something different?
Yeah, we're sticking with the D2 tool steel, just because it's just worked for us for 25 years. We've got so much unbelievable feedback on it, so we're sticking with it. We're going on some of the bigger knives. We're going a little bit thicker. You get people. They tend to when they get a big knife in their hands, they tend to do like bigger, dumber things. If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah,
So our Bowie and our bushcraft knives, those are going to be like thicker, heavier duty, thicker steel, but they're still going to be D2. But obviously the saw is going to be a little bit different, and the Base Camp Chef, which is coming out this week, that's going to be 154 cm, which is our kitchen cutlery material.
Lately, I've seen, you guys are doing such a great job in promotion and social media, but lately I've seen some things I really like coming from you guys, and that is you or somebody doing demonstrations on how to maintain your knives, and you're doing a demonstration on this sharpener that I think is so cool. You're interacting with your customers and showing them how to use this in their everyday lives. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really important. Watching people every day that come into the store, a knife's a knife, right? So you assume people know everything about it, but they really don't. I mean, a lot of people don't think that, hey, maybe I should drop a little bit of oil in the hinge of my pocket knife because it's getting squeaky, or maybe I should blow out the inside of my pocket knife because it's got pocket lint in it, that kind of things. So, and then the knife sharpening. 99.9% of the people in this world don't know how to sharpen a knife, and that's not their fault. If they didn't grow up with a dad that was a butcher or something like that, they're not going to really know how to sharpen a knife. So we're just trying to help people along with the process and show them that, hey, we'll sell you a knife, but yeah, we're here for a lot of other knife-related items too, and to help you take care of your the Rapid River knives or anything else you have.
Well, I grew up with a dad who could sharpen a knife on a whetstone. He could shave with it. He tried to show me, Kris. I could not. I just could not master it. I know I can send my knife to you guys, or I can drop it off, and you'll put a razor edge on it again. But what about that little sharpener? Does that do a pretty good job?
Yeah, the little sharpener is excellent. So the whetstone is very difficult because you have to hold the same angle on both sides of the knife as you're working the whetstone, which is actually physically impossible to do. So our little sharpener is very simple. It's got 2 little carbide bits in it. Once you get your knife to where it's extremely dull and it needs a new angles ground onto the bottom, ours grinds a perfect angle on both sides of the blade. It takes about 2 minutes, and then after you're done with that, we also have a full line of knife strops now, like the barbers use for their straight razors, where you can just drop your knife after you run it through the little sharpener. So there's a series of steps. It depends on how far you want to take it with your edge, but if you want to get it right down to factory sharp again by yourself at home, we have the tools, and we'll show you how to do it.
What about the Idaho bear hunt giveaway? Is there still time to get involved in that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can still get into that until April 15th. We're drawing the winner for that. We currently have over 200,000 entrants into that hunt, but all it takes is one to win.
That's true.
And it's been really exciting. We're going to pick one person, and we're going to fly them to Idaho. They're going to meet with us in Boise, Idaho, and we are going to go up into the Seven Devils Range of the Rocky Mountains, and we're going to hunt color-phased black bears, which I'm really, really getting excited for that. And I'll announce it right here on your show. We have already been contacted by several outfitters that have seen how successful and how widespread this giveaway has been. We are putting together a African safari that will be it might not be our next one, but it's already in the works. We're getting ready to give away 4 African safaris.
I think you're working with my buddy Craig Plowman on that one, aren't you?
You know it.
Oh,
you know it.
Oh, boy, that's going to be a good one. Craig's a very good friend of mine. When he said he talked with you about that, I said that is the perfect thing for you guys to get involved in. Kris Duerson of Rapid River, man, I cannot... I'm so impressed with what you've done, especially here these last few years. Keep up the good work. I appreciate you working with me, and let's keep this thing going.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike, and congratulations on your awards.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Kris Duerson of Rapid River Knives, the website rapidriverknifeworks.com. That's rapidriverknifeworks.com. What's a Rapid River knife sound like when you open it up? That's what mine sounds like. I do it every day. It's in my pocket. RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com, RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. A few more things for me to shoot the breeze about, and then we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. And you know he will have another great recipe. That's coming up yet this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Taos and WIOS, 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. You can hear us in Iron Mountain, WMIQ, 1450 AM. And you can hear us in Saginaw, WSGW AM and FM, 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now. You know this by now. I am here each week on Wednesday. We do record the show on Wednesday. There's no secret about that. I work very closely with the folks at WSGW. I'm in here this week with young Jonathan Dent. He's doing a wonderful job, as always. John's goal, we were just talking about his goals here. His goal, his professional goal, and maybe personal, is to end up with people shouting, Jonathan, Jonathan, Jonathan. That's what he wants out of life. So I would encourage you that if you are in the Tri-Cities area, that you stop by. Just come by the parking lot. Wouldn't that be something if that happened, John? Anyway, I appreciate I appreciate the folks, John and Charlie and everybody here at WSUW. I appreciate them working with me. This segment of Outdoor Magazine, by the way, brought to you by one of my new partners, Hammond Drives and Equipment. If you're a farmer, a contractor, a landscaper, a maintenance supervisor, anybody who needs hydraulic hoses and fittings, with more than 30 years in business, they've got a warehouse full of hoses, fittings, elbows, adapters, more, air, chemical, petroleum, hydraulic, you name it. They're in Freeland, but they do business across the state. Check out their website, hammondeqp.com, hammondeqp.com, or give them a call at 989-695-2239, 989-695-2239. So what else is on my list here? Let's see. Okay, speaking of phone numbers, and I usually don't like to give out phone numbers on the air, but sometimes it's necessary. We are now taking reservations for our Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch, Wednesday, April 23rd. Call 989-343-0892, 989-343-0892 for reservations. If nobody answers, if you have to leave a message, tell them, of course, your name, how many in your party, and please give them a callback phone number, because as we get closer, they will call back and confirm these, because, sometimes you can't, you make a plan and you have to stop for whatever reason. Well, we always sell these things out, so we want to make sure as many people as possible are able to get in on this. 989-343-0892. Another housekeeping item. Now through Easter on Wednesday Night Live, which is my live stream I do on several social media platforms, Wednesday nights at 7, we do a Ham for the Holidays giveaway in partnership with Michigan Brand Meats. This is our version for Lent, and we will give away an Easter ham every Wednesday night. So tune in for that to win an Easter ham. And also, we're giving away $25 Lumberjack gift certificates you can use for our Wednesday Night Live. So our Wednesday Night Lives are busy for the next several weeks. What else? Golf outing. The second annual Mike Avery Outdoors Charity Golf Outing, which is Friday, July 25th at the West Branch Country Club in beautiful West Branch. As you're hearing this radio show, the website to sign up is now open. Go to mucc.org/golf, mucc.org/golf. And I announced earlier in the show that the folks at Security Credit Union have agreed to come on as our top dog sponsor level. So they've made a very significant and substantial financial investment in this event, and I cannot thank them enough for helping to make this year's event a big success in advance. What else is going on? The red-winged blackbirds are back at the pond behind the Avery house. Yay! The big flying rats are also back. Not so yay. Big flying rats, that's what they are. And I've got a bone to pick with you waterfowl hunters that you didn't do a better job of controlling their numbers last fall. That's all I got to say. Have you heard about, and maybe this will be an official announcement by the time you hear the radio show this weekend, but I've been following this. I've been talking with people. I am quite confident that this is legit. If I'm getting scammed or if the wool is being pulled over my eyes, I apologize. But it looks like we now have a breeding population of mountain lions in the UP, specifically Ontonagon County. Some folks there have found a couple of mountain lion kittens. I've seen pictures. I've talked to people who have seen them. This all seems very legit. Again, if it's proven to be a scam, I apologize. This is not my way of usually doing business, but I suspect by this weekend this might be confirmed. To have breeding mountain lions in the UP, that's a pretty significant development. So we'll see where that takes us. What else is on my list? Again, Walleye for Warriors website. If you want to be a boat captain for the Walleye for Warriors event coming up in June on Saginaw Bay out of Linwood Beach Marina, go to the website walleyesforwarriors.org. That's walleyesforwarriors.org. Sign up to be a boat captain. You do not have to be a licensed charter captain to be a boat captain for Walleye for Warriors. And one final note, a thank you to the folks at MUCC. They awarded me the Conservation Communicator of the Year award last weekend at their annual convention in Gaylord at Treetops Resort. That award means a lot to me, especially coming from the folks at MUCC. Honestly, probably one of the biggest awards of my life. So thank you so much for that. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap this whole thing up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, and I have no idea what he's cooking up, but I can bet you it's going to be good. Welcome back. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine Radio. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Love to hear from you. As we are recording this show right now, it is just about lunchtime, and so I like to wrap up each week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar because he always has something outstanding, and this week is no exception. David, welcome back. How you doing, buddy?
Really good, boy. I think spring is finally here.
Well, I tell you what, it is down here by us. I was in Gaylord last weekend, and I couldn't believe how different it looked, Dave. It was like it was still wintertime. There was lots of snow on the ground, but yeah, down here by us, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Here in Standish, there's hardly any snow, and the pond is defrosting out nicely, and there's dead skunks on the road and rockets flying. Blackbirds, it just like overnight it happened.
Like somebody flipped a switch. Do you have big flying rats? Oh, I mean geese on your pond yet?
Oh, yeah, unfortunately. Man, are they noisy this time of the year. It's just ridiculous. Makes my dogs crazy.
Makes me crazy. I wish we had a goose recipe this week, but it wouldn't be the right season. So what do we have, Dave?
Well, the whitefish are piling up on the piers in Lake Huron side of the Great Lakes. Tawas Pier, Sanilac, Lexington, all of them piers is a big attraction for whitefish. So, and what we're going to do is kind of a baked barbecued whitefish. We did this for the show, too, years ago, and it was quite a hit. We used to make this at work all the time. So you need about this would be for 4 portions. So you need about 4 of 10 to 12 ounce boneless whitefish fillets. You can leave the skin on, but scale them real good. And about 1/3 of a cup of onions diced fine, a medium green pepper diced fine, 2 or more cloves of garlic, depending on your family and your guests' dietary taste, diced up fine, a little sprinkling of cayenne pepper, juice from a lemon, 1 to 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 to 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, preferably California or imported if you can get it. Midwest is a little sweet for this, and a little olive oil to saute. So what you're going to do, you're going to need a baking sheet. So you're going to saute up the onions, the green pepper and the garlic, and a little bit of that cayenne pepper in olive oil for just a couple minutes. You want to go slow. You want to break the flavor loose. You want to get it probably 3/4 of the way cooked through. And then you can add all the other ingredients to the pan and stirring it so often so it doesn't scorch. And because it will, because of that tomato sauce and the sugar. So you got to be kind of careful a little bit. You need to place the fillet on the baking sheet, spoon sauce over the top, and broil it until it's done. Check with a fork, and if it's flaky, it's done. You don't want to overcook whitefish. It's a real delicate flavor, and this really enhances the flavor by doing this. And you're probably not going to broil it for more than 5 minutes, depending on how hot your broiler is. And you want to check it off, and you want to just make sure it's nice, hot, and bubbly, and the fish is done. And, man, this is a great way to use it. And we used to sell this at the restaurant quite a bit, I told you. I remember it. I remember it being very popular. Now, is this something, Dave, that you're doing at the restaurant now where you're working? Do you have a full wild game recipe there, or just limited at this point? We're limited at this point. I do 2 specials on the weekend, and I try to do Well, during Lent, we're going to do more fish than say like venison or elk. So we've been doing a salmon and a walleye special. This week we got the corned beef and cabbage, of course, for St. Patty's Day. Everybody, happy St. Patty's Day.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Thank you for that reminder, Dave.
All righty. So it's been going really good. We get a lot of people coming in. They just calling up and reserving whatever it is we're having for that special this week. It's just great to be back in the kitchen. I'll tell you what.
I'm really glad to hear that that's working out because listen, I know you pretty well, and I know that in your early stage of retirement, it's like, now what do I do with myself? Your place is in the kitchen. I mean, you've been in the kitchen since you were a kid. You made your career in the kitchen. I get it. I get that love for doing what it is that you've been called to do.
It was such a letdown not to be cooking, after doing it for, say we were 35 years at the restaurant there in Birch Run, and to be on demand all the time, and then all of a sudden to go to nothing, it was quite a letdown.
Well, the good news is you're back and you're on your schedule, and sometime, Dave, and we don't have time to do it now, and we've done it in the past, but I would like to sometime here in the next few weeks kind of remind people how you got to where you are. And I'm talking about the chef on the private yacht and that whole 9 yards. So let's kind of keep that in the back of our minds here coming up.
Just text me and let me know what week you want to do.
All right. I appreciate that, Dave. Wild Game Chef.
I don't need any studying up on that.
Wild Game Chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you. If you weren't listening, there'd be no reason to do this. There'd be no reason for any of this. And I'm too young. I'm too young to walk away from this. I'm like Dixie Dave in the kitchen. It's like he's just too young. So am I. My name is Mike Avery. Again, this show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to hear from you. And I'll talk to you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.